Welcome. This is an audio experience with Maximizing Moments with Milton.
All right, are you ready? I am ready. Okay, here we go. If you're ready, I am ready to rock and roll.
Hello, Maximizer. How you doing? This is Milton Herring at miltonherring.com, and thank you for joining me on this episode. This 2-on-1 episode where me and a special guest sit down and talk about ways to maximize moments in your life directly to you. And I've got today a special guest, a good friend, Jai Bugarin. Say hello, Jai.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure for being here, Milton. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Just a little bit about Jai and his bios. He's a leader, motivator, and self-starter, a bilingual and bicultural entrepreneur with over 9 years of experience in the digital space. His in-depth knowledge of the social media ecosystem and passion for business strategy and operations has allowed him to build businesses, raise venture capital, lead and empower teams, develop and grow brands, produce engaging content, as well as build large trusted companies across digital platforms. Right now, Jai is now focused on new venture aimed to inspire, educate, and empower Latino entrepreneurs to launch their dream business, reach financial freedom, and build a better future for themselves and their loved ones. There is no limits to what Mr. Bugarin can do once he sets his mind to it. So thank you, Maximizer, for helping me welcome Jai to the show. Jai, would you catch us up? Give us some more context about your story, which is, I know, is a special story, and I want the Maximizer to hear it and gain something from this episode.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much for having me, Milton. It's a pleasure. I'll tell you guys a little bit about me. I grew up in Mexico, in Guadalajara. Beautiful place. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go and visit. I grew up to a poor middle-class family, and I moved to the U.S. when I was around 17. Now, when I was in Mexico, I was focused a lot in the acting side. I was an actor growing up. I did a few projects, and I was having a blast. But when I was 17, my parents decided that it was time for me to come to the U.S. and learn English and hopefully get me away from this idea of wanting to be an actor. Because at the time, I had just booked a pilot in Mexico City, and I was already talking about leaving home to go to Mexico City and pursue my acting career. And my parents weren't big fans of that. So they wanted me to come to the U.S. and study English and hopefully get me distracted so that I would forget about following my passion. I had a brother in Oregon and going to university there at SOU, and they figured it would be a good idea for me to come to the U.S. and live with them and study the language, and follow whatever career path I wanted to take thereafter. So it was weird. One of my oldest brother told me that day. He said, "Think of it this way, Jai. If you stay here in Mexico, you can have a slice of this cake," he said. "But if you go to the U.S. and you study and you go study film, then you can actually eat the entire cake when you graduate, right? So
yeah.
just go out there and make the best out of it." And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? Yes, I'm gonna go with it, and I'm gonna go and really pursue an acting and film career. And literally, I packed my bags and I moved to the U.S. and I left everything behind. My friends, my family, my entire life, my career at the time, because I was acting, I was a working actor growing up, and I didn't even speak the language, which brought me to sort of like a rude awakening once I was in Oregon and realized that I was the only, one of only about 17 Latinos in the entire high school. And most of us were actually in ESL. So we were a minority by far, right?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I right off the bat, I started experiencing a lot of racism, which led to a lot of depression and anxiety. And I was going through a lot of stuff. I went from doing what I love to do in Mexico, being an actor, everything was sort of like up and up, to all of a sudden I'm in this place, foreign place, where people didn't like me, not because of who I was, but how I looked. And I did not really understand what that was all about. I didn't really know what racism was all about, It was completely new to me. I couldn't believe that someone wouldn't give me an opportunity to get to know me before they were automatically just hating me for the color of my skin. So it was an interesting time, and I found myself in a position where I knew I had two choices. And talking about maximizing the moment, right? I knew that I either gave up and become a victim and just kind of say, hey, you know, my parents sent me here. I hate this place. I want to get out of here. Or the other option was just to work hard and prove to myself that I could be great, that I could do something with my life, right? And make the best out of that opportunity, out of that moment. And I went for it. I decided to go, you know, and really fight for my dreams, fight to go to film school. That was my first initial goal moving to the US. It was like going to film school and getting a film degree and then pursuing my acting career. And I go after it. I did a lot of great things in Oregon in the high school. I ended up becoming the vice president of my high school 2 years later.
Nice.
Was varsity. What's that?
I said that's nice.
Yeah. So it was a big change, but that change happened, Milton, once I realized that I had a choice.
You took ownership.
That, yes, I took ownership of the moment and I honored the now, right? Like, okay, I'm here now. What is here for me? And that's been a big lesson that I've been learning over and over and over in my life, is to understand that everything is unfolding the way that it's supposed to be unfolding for my greater good, whether I realize it or not, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm here. There has to be a lesson here, right? I need to just go after it and pursue it and be the best I can be, regardless of the circumstances. So instead of letting the environment affect me, I was going to affect the environment that I was in.
And I don't think it's it. You know, you talk about your move from Mexico to America. That's a big deal. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you felt that way when you made that jump to Oregon of all places, but you know, I could say it could have been Idaho, but you know, you did move to Oregon. That is a huge deal for a young man to experience a transition in culture, number one, but then an opportunity where everything opens up. It's more of alive. What you were raised and learning and doing now has to be shifted to, oh my, where am I at? And can what I learn really translate to where I am now? And I think there's some key benefits that you probably experience just by, you know, having a different mindset and culture from another country, another type of background from where you were in Oregon. That really, I think, is kind of what I've seen, you know, from your buy-in from your life that's really translated into success today. Let me ask you about something real quick, and this is really probably a tough subject. I dealt with racism as a kid growing up. My parents put me in schools and areas in the country where there weren't a lot of me, if you know what I'm saying, just like there weren't a lot of you. And
I know exactly what you're saying.
And so, which is I value that today, because now I am able to experience and understand people at different levels. I'm more of a chameleon. I can come in and out of you know, cultures, subculture, societies, and be okay, and really kind of, you know, bridge one way to the other, which has really been a benefit to me in my life and career and success, and I'm able to pass it on to my children as well. But dealing with racism, it's not. You think, okay, yeah, somebody called you, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, somebody called you a name, or somebody did this to you, but honestly, dealing with racism, and there's people that maybe haven't dealt with it but want to know what the inside is like when you're dealing with type of racism. And I don't mean this conversation should go off topic this much, but it's real in this story right now. Your thoughts on racism and how to really, despite going through racism, you still were able to overcome. Can you unpack that a little bit more for me?
Yes. I mean, it's definitely an inner struggle, because it's almost like the environment is pushing you to change, to grow, to expand, to become somebody different. You know, you gotta grow, you know, in order to be able to deal with the situation in a way that is positive. And for me, I think that the biggest lesson was that this was about me and only about me and what I wanted to do with my life. So it was like taking that ownership of, what do I want, regardless of what people think or what people say? What do I want to accomplish?
Right.
And what do I got to do to get there, right? So it just became a challenge to me to say, well, I got to overcome one way or another, because I'm already here and I'm full of dreams. I let go of so much to be here
Right.
that I can't now just sit back and just let the environment dictate who I become.
That's beautiful.
So, right. So I had to not necessarily fight against them. I think that, and I actually now truly believe this, that it's always everything is internal. It's an internal battle. So it was like forging a new Jai that I didn't even know yet. Right. That it was like I was becoming I was a kid, but I was becoming stronger. I was, how do I explain? Like I was just seeing the world I was literally getting to know a whole new world that I didn't know before, right? I mean, I was in a completely new environment. And I guess what was a little crazy at the beginning was that I was still very sad that I had to leave my life behind, right? So I was still dealing with that on top of it. So on one end, I'm saying, and I remember really going home after school and crying and saying, what am I doing here? Why am I here? Why are people treating me this way? Because I mean, I could tell you some really crazy stories of the kind of things, the kind of racism that I experienced. So on one end, I was dealing with that, just coming to terms that I chose to move. Although, I mean, my brother and my parents were like, hey, you got to go and you got to think about it this way. There's opportunity and all these things. At the end of the day, I made that decision. I said, okay, I packed my bag and I got on the plane, I moved, and I was living with my brother. So on one side, I was dealing with that, just coming to terms with that it was my choice to be there. And on the other side was that now this new environment and this new life was very different, and it presented whole new obstacles. And I needed to know how to navigate through those obstacles in a way where I was still going to be able to continue to go after my dreams or my objectives, right? When I moved here, which was first learn the language, graduate high school, and then go to film school.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that, you're talking about leaving the familiar and jumping into something very unknown. And I think the struggle, even if it's not racism, maybe you grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. Maybe, you grew up without a father or a mother. You were on welfare. You're disabled at some level. There's always something, I think, the human nature we have to be able to overcome and take ownership. And I think the moment you start playing victim to whatever label people want to put on you is when you start to go into a mode of destructive defeat, and that's where I think that's where the moments that come, like you said, you're always growing, always learning, but these times of struggle and challenges really open up the doors to really understand who you are. And I think that's really where it's important to understand why like Maximize Why Jai or myself have overcome these things, because it exposed who we are and allowed us to grow within that scenario. And I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't, for you, I don't know how you feel, but I would not take it back for anything. That was the experience. That was something that I experienced. And I'm not that I want anybody to go through it, but I'm glad I went through it. It allowed me to open up and see and not fall victim to what really a lot of people could fall into at a young age, especially they're feeling separated or isolated from a certain group or subculture. And I think that's totally important when it comes to success.
I agree with you 100% on that. I mean, it is shaping who you really are. It's almost like it allows you to transform and take ownership again of that moment and decide, okay, I'm here now and I'm here for a reason. Where do I want to go now? Right? I'm in charge. I make the decision. What do I want to do? And I chose greatness. I chose to go completely away from being a victim. And I'm not going to say that there at the very beginning, I did feel victim to a lot of things. Yeah. I mean, I was a kid and sometimes I blame my parents. Sometimes I blame the students. But that was the journey that I needed to go through to fully understand that at the end of the day, I had a choice. And I could do whatever I wanted with my life. I could defeat myself. I could just get into that victim position that you're talking about, or I can overcome and say, no, this is who I really am. Right. And then continue to stay true to who you are and what you believe. And then the environment begins to change.
Right. It does.
Right?
It does. And it's never, if you don't allow it to be a period but a comma in your life, that
Right.
whatever you come across, let it be a comma. It's just a pause, right? And then there's more. But, yes, I went through that comma, but, right? It's like, but there's more. I experienced more. I was challenged more. I grew more.
Right.
There's more on the other side of the comma. But if you allow it to become a period in your life, you'll stay there. You'll stay stuck there. And
I
really,
could have stayed in that moment the rest of my life, being a
you could
victim
have.
and talking about how everybody was against me, and I was in a new country, foreign country, and I didn't have the same opportunities, or I didn't have, I could have stayed stuck in that state, but I realized that it was not forever. It
Right.
was temporary,
Right.
right?
That's
This
right.
this this shall pass. But now, what do I do while I'm here? What is the lesson? And honestly, if it wasn't for those moments, I wouldn't be who I am today.
That's
You
right.
know, I wouldn't be as determined as I am today. I wouldn't be as kind as I am today, because that also taught me a lot about how to be more kind to these people.
Hmm.
I mean, some of these people that, and I'll tell you a quick story. There was this who's now a good friend of mine, but I joined the JV basketball team. I was the only Latino on the team,
Okay.
and I couldn't really speak English, so at times it was really hard for me to understand what the coach was saying when we were in a practice. And the guys, I can see now, they probably really hated that, and they were really mean to me. But when we would play game, like when we were at a game, I remember a time very specific. We went to cheer, and right after the cheer, one of the guys said, "Well, I choose not to sit by Jai because he's Mexican and he stinks." And I literally had to sit by myself on the bench, like probably 3 or 4 feet from the rest of the team, because they didn't want to sit next to me. Now, that same, like, after these 2 years pass, and I worked really hard at showcasing who I really was, and tried to get people to go beyond the fact that I was Mexican and that I was brown and that I was from a different country or whatever. But I ended up becoming, popular, became the vice president of the school, and I got a local newspaper did an article on me, and I talked about this story. But this guy was now my friend. I never said his name, and I remember him coming to me after he read the article, was like crying, apologizing to me for what he had done 2 years before. And he just he didn't know me, and he was apologizing. I was like, no, 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 no. Like, those moments are my treasures. Like, those moments are the ones that shape me to who I am now. I got to practice, like I said, compassion. I got to practice kindness. I got to practice all these things that are so important for someone to feel. So I was blessed that I was able to take it in a positive light, although it hurt at the moment. But I knew that it was almost like I knew I was going through it for a reason, and that this was just only going to make me stronger, and I had to just keep on pushing through. That was kind of the mindset that I had, and I kept on doing so, and it ended up paying off.
It does. It does. And despite that, and despite all that, you're a man that I know that you have defined success for yourself, and you've done a lot of really cool things based on your past history and bio. And what I want you to share a little bit more. I mean, there's so much that you've done or continuing to do. How would you, based on the things that you went through, how would you define success, Jai?
Whew, that's a really good question. I think the success to me is happiness, and doing things that excite me, doing things that I'm passionate about, and that impact other people. I love the idea of giving back. I love the idea of making a difference, and that really has become my success. Is just finding those things that really make me alive, that make me feel alive, that make me feel on fire, and I'm constantly chasing that. And listen, that's a really good topic, because I spent a lot of time chasing money, thinking that was my success. Right? I really thought that the moment I had money, I was gonna be able to be really happy, and I was gonna be able to do all the things that I ever wanted. And then I spent a lot of time chasing money for that purpose. And then once I started doing well, I realized that I was still unfulfilled. That was not really success. And then I took a step back, and started looking at this, like, what is success? And is success the same thing for everybody? And then I realized that it wasn't, and that I didn't have to live my life based on somebody else's idea of success. That in order for me to truly feel successful, I needed to define what success was, right? And then I realized, like, wait a minute, in my priority list, my family is on the top of my list, right? My well-being is on the top of the list, even more important than, let's say, money. So then that's when I realized that money was a byproduct of passion, and that you needed to focus on what you love to do, and that money would just find you on the other side, right? If you were doing something that you love to do, money would find you. So instead of chasing money, and for everybody that's listening, so instead of chasing money, it's like define what it is that you're passionate about, and define what are the things that make you happy. Because success to me, like I said, is happiness. So what makes you happy? And make a list of those things. Is maybe for you, success is being healthy, having a happy family, doing what you love to do for a living. So under the right definition of success, some of us might already be successful, but we don't realize because society is telling us that we need to have $1 million in the bank to be successful. Does that make sense?
It does.
So it's like, let's take a step back. Let's put money on the side and say, what is success to me? Success is being happy. Well, what does it mean to be happy? What it means to be with my family, to spend more time with my kids, to make sure my wife is happy, to make sure that I do more activities that I enjoy. So then that needs to be your definition of success, right? And everything that you do needs to make sure that it's aligned with that. So for example, if that is your definition of success, is being with family and having time for them, and you get an offer where they're going to pay you, let's say 6 figures a year, but you have to be away 6-7 months out of the year, would you accept that offer or would you decline that offer? Right? Because if you don't have your own definition of success, then some people might tell you you'll be dumb not to take that opportunity.
Right.
But I would say that if what's important to you in your life is your family and your kids and spending time with them, then you'll be dumb to take the opportunity.
You would.
Because it's going to take you away from your family and the things that truly make you happy.
You would. And I think you're spot on, Jai, because even today people struggle so much with defining success. I think and I'm including myself because I've been in that boat too, and thank goodness I've gotten out of that boat to understand, okay, what is it truly that I'm after in life? Because I was, hey, if I can make 6 figures, if I can make high 6 figures, if I can make 7 figures, then I know that I'll be happy. But really, money just magnifies who you are really anyways, whether good or bad. And it's really fleeting. Money is so, it's like sand. You can't hold on to it. It's like, yeah, I do have this money, but it's like, where's it gone? Like it's already out of your hand, and you're left with whatever you got. Maybe you lost a marriage, your children don't like you, your health is poor because you were chasing this dollar sign, and then you realize at the end of life, man, what really was important was my health, was my family, was what my contribution to society, was what I can be able to give back and leave as a legacy. Those are things I wish I would have gave more time to, and I think it's now the opportunity. It doesn't matter how old or young you are, if you can really determine what really brings you joy and happiness, and really what is your definition of success, because it's different for everyone. And my piece of wisdom here is, don't compare your beginning to someone else's end. You try to see, this person's making X amount of money, or they're showing all this stuff on Instagram, or they've got it made, they look great, and you don't know what they've gone through or what life they have right now. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so be careful to judge and approve of someone else's quote unquote success, or what you think it is, and then think it's going to work for you, because it is not like a one size fits all. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's you can definitely, I think something you said that really resonates with me is this idea of don't compare your beginning to somebody else's end, because it's so true. It's not a fair comparison. You don't know where they are in their life. You don't know what they're going through. You know how long they've been working at something, so there's no benefit in comparing yourself to anybody. I mean, you have to stay within your own lane and continue to keep working towards your success, right? Your happiness, not anybody else's. Now, something really quick though, there when we talk about money, I agree with you. Money just like highlights who you already are, right? So I see money as a tool that will help you accomplish whatever you want. So if you're a good person, money's going to help you do more good. If you're a bad person, money's going to help you do more bad, right?
Yep.
It just enhances who you already are. So, and I say this a lot, is that good people, for everyone listening, because a lot of like I grew up with this sort of like guilt of wanting money, because I grew up poor, right? So it was almost like I knew what it was to not have much. So when I thought of like, oh, I want a lot, it was almost like, oh, who am I to want a lot when a lot of people are hurting, right? There's a lot of people struggling. So why would I want to? So I dealt with that guilt. But then I realized that good people, like your listeners, like you, like me, we're the ones that the more money we have, the more good we do. So it's also about changing that, your perception of money and your relationship with money, right? So it's like understanding that if we are able to do well in life by doing things that we love to do, then we can then use that money as well to give back. We're the people that can create the foundations, that can, go build schools in another country, or go bring water to a community that doesn't have it. Like there needs to be more of us doing good things in the world and leading that initiative, right? That movement. So it's okay to have money. I just kind of want to make that clarification. Like it's okay to have a lot of money, but it's you got to do it doing things that you love, and then using that money to also give back, right?
Yep. I agree. Yes, you're right. Money is not bad, and I hope Maximizer you hear this. It is not bad. It's a tool, and like Jai is saying, it is a tool. But understand though, the tool can only be used in the right hands. If you're a man or woman of integrity and character, it'll be used for good. My hope and prayer is that you do examine yourself as you do increasing your financial flow, to use that as a tool and to help out in the world. And I guarantee you, it is not a saturated market of people that need to be out there encouraging and helping and saving other people. It is not saturated. There is more room than you can imagine of people that are needed to go out and make a difference. So I appreciate you sharing that, Jai.
My pleasure. No, that's really important to understand.
And now I want to move into our maximizing moment questions. We can talk a lot, and I'll probably have to have you back on the show too. So, are you ready to rock and roll with our maximizing moment questions?
Yes, let's do it.
Awesome. Here's my first one for you, Jai. Give me your favorite quote and explain why and how it helps you.
Right on. So my favorite quote is, "Success is a journey, not a destination." And it's funny because I saw that quote in a poster at a Ford dealership, believe it or not, when I was about, I want to say like 11 years old.
Wow.
And I just fell in love with it. And I honestly didn't even know what it really represented. I mean, I understood, oh, it's not a journey, it's a destination. Okay, cool. But I didn't really know what it meant, but I just took it, like it spoke to me. And I just wrote it down, and we're always writing on my notebooks. I have it to this day, I have it all over my social media. But it's just a quote that to me, it just reminds me to stay grounded, like to appreciate the process, the journey, to not focus on the outcome or the results, but actually focus on making sure that day to day, I am doing something that makes me smile, right. Something that makes me happy. And also to understand that there's always a lesson in the now. So if I can maintain myself in the now, then I can then really honor whatever is showing up for me right now and deal with it in that moment. So all our lessons happen when we are actually present, right? And a lot of times when we're not present and we're not paying attention, we can get stuck in a situation for months, but not until we actually take a step back and breathe and acknowledge what is happening now. Then we can actually learn that lesson and move on, right? And continue to move forward.
Yes, sir.
So it's definitely a quote that reminds me to be happy today, because today and right now, this moment speaking with you is all I have, and is the only thing that matters right now. This is my life right here, moment to moment. So it allows me to focus on that and continue to try to be better at that.
Yes, and you are truly maximizing it. Thank you so much. Be in the here and now, Maximizer. Here's my second question for you, Jai. Give me a moment where, when looking back, you let slip away and it impacted your life at some level?
This is a big question. I think it was moving to the, like talking about my story of moving to the U.S.
Yeah.
For a while, I was, when I was saying when I moved to the U.S., I was saying I should have gone, I should go back. Why did I come? Like I was going through those moments at the very beginning, like I was talking earlier, but then understanding that everything is happening the way that it's supposed to happen, even if you don't see it in that moment. Moving to the US was the best thing that could happen to me. That's when I really defined my character. That's when I really understood what it meant to fight for what I wanted, to keep, pushing forward. That if I would have given up, or if I would have just not taken that opportunity, or if I would have taken it the wrong way, then I would have just been very resentful my entire life and being, angry at what happened. But on the other hand, I was able to realize that if I'm here, it's for a reason, right? And I made the best out of that moment. And it was a huge lesson for me moving forward as well, just to understand that everything that is happening to me, even if I'm perceiving it as negative, there is something in there for me. There's a lesson there for me. There's an opportunity for growth. So I'm in the right place at all times, in other words, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that it's not that it slipped away and now you have to assume the consequences. It's more that it slipped away for a reason. And if you can see it that way, then everything that has happened to you, no matter how difficult it feels at the moment, you know that it's happening because it's allowing you to expand, to grow, to become a better version of you.
Right.
So it's helping you move forward, right? So that's, to me, that is the biggest lesson there, is nothing slipping away. Everything is happening for your greater good, no matter how you're perceiving it in that moment.
Right, and it's always happening now, and I appreciate that. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much. That was a good one. Here's my next one for you, Jai. Have you ever had a time where you knew there was more for you to do in life or accomplish, but were in a position or job or career that didn't quite line up with that? How did you maximize that moment?
Oof. So I'll tell you a quick story. So after I went through everything we just talked about, and I moved to LA to pursue my film career, and in business. I always loved business. I always been an entrepreneur. I had an entrepreneur spirit, but I wanted to do film and study film. And I moved to LA. I put myself through school, and after I graduated, I was like, okay, finally I get to go after my dream, right? And then a few years later, I find myself working at a bank, exchanging time for money, and just feeling miserable. I hated the job, right? And I was complaining about this all the time. I need to leave. But I was so worried of leaving it because I knew what it felt to not have any money in the bank. I knew what it felt to not be able to make ends meet. So I was afraid of leaving the job because it was paying my bills, right?
Right.
And then one moment, after complaining for a while about it and saying I want to leave and I know I was meant for something greater, because think about it, after I went through all this stuff that we talked about, and I've actually put myself through school and I felt like I was accomplished, I had done what I came here to do, then all of a sudden I'm stuck at a job that I don't like and it doesn't fulfill me. And I don't know how to get out of it because I need the money. And finally a friend of mine sat me down and we had a heart-to-heart, and he reminded me that, I have to make a choice.
Right.
That I couldn't just be the victim of the bank, that if I wanted to change things, I need to make a change, right? And maximize the moment, right? To connect it to this, that I needed to see what was there for me at that bank, and then figure out a way for me to eventually leave it if that's what I wanted to do. But I had to take action, right? So the way I maximize that moment is that I realized, okay, if I'm here, it's for a reason. What is the lesson in this? Why am I at this bank right now? What is there that I can learn? So I did two things. One of them is, instead of hating the job, I started to look at my environment and saying, what are the tools and skills that I could grab from this position while I'm here that will serve me later down the road? Because most likely there's a reason why I'm here and there's something for me to learn here. So I started to look at my job in a completely different light and started to really appreciate the lessons that were there for me while I was creating a plan so that I could eventually leave the bank, right? So by the time I ended up taking the leap, and I ended up starting a small production company, Bugarin Reels. That was my first real business that I had.
Okay.
And but I was doing that. I was building that while I still was at the job. But now the job was not just something that I would go and sort of space out for 8 hours and then go home. I was there saying, okay, cool. So I have the opportunity to manage people. So how can I be a better leader? How can I, how can I have better conversations with these people? How can I learn from them?
Yeah.
And honestly, Milton, once I made that shift, by the time I left the bank, I realized that if it wasn't for the bank, I wouldn't have been able to do that other business and a lot of other opportunities that came down the line that were life impacting, like they changed my life. They were all opportunities that came because I have experience in finance, because I had experience in management, because I knew how to deal with people. Like it literally transformed who I was. And I ended up actually growing tremendously as a person and as an entrepreneur just from that opportunity at the bank. But if it wasn't, if I wouldn't have started looking at it from a different angle, I would have continued to just waste my time there, and who knows how much longer it would have been there and not got anything out of it. But I was able to shift it and turn it into a situation that actually allowed me to grow and learn a lot of lessons that I still use in business.
Right, and I love that. Thank you, because I do the same thing. I'm like, if I'm in a position where I don't like something, I always ask myself, what do I need to learn in this something? So,
Right.
so if you don't like it, find out what you need to do to learn in it. And so, what do I need to get from this? So, thanks for
Right. So
sharing
don't
that, Jay.
waste your time in that. Actually maximize that time and use it for something good. Like, because there's something there for you. There's a lesson and experience in everything we do. Right.
And life is not random. It's not random coincidences. I believe there is purpose and opportunities everywhere you are to grow and to maximize and to give and to share. And I think we're all led. I believe that's where we're all led in some level. So thanks for
I
sharing
couldn't
that.
agree more with that, Milton. That's completely accurate for me, from my experience.
My next one for you is: do you have a story of a time when maximize the moment was important or meaningful to you?
Yes, I mean there was and I guess it kind of follows through with this story that I've been telling myself. So I left the bank. I started this small production company, Bugarin Reels, that also taught me a lot. And even though it wasn't my dream business yet, I was still in search for my purpose and that business that I was so passionate about and that allowed me to make a difference and touch other people. But an opportunity showed up to work at a company called Maker Studios. Big media company in LA, actually the biggest exit in a media company in LA, ended up selling to Disney for $950 million back in 2015. But when that opportunity came, I had never done, the position was to be the head of bilingual programming for this studio. And literally it was like I was co-founding the network within that company. So I went in to co-found this network and raise money and do that whole thing. And I had never done it before. But again, the bank experience was what sort of the fact that I had that finance background because I was a manager in at the bank, and the fact that now I had production experience. So those two things, the bank, which I didn't like at first, and then the production company, which I decided it wasn't what I wanted to do. Both of those things have prepared me perfectly for this other opportunity that showed up. And at the moment, I was really scared about doing it. I remember talking to my now wife. At the time she was my girlfriend, but this was about, in 2010. I was talking to her and saying, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know what if I fail? All these doubts and limiting beliefs were coming up, and all these things things were happening, and we had a really deep conversation when it was like when I realized if it's here in front of me, it's for a reason. That means that I'm prepared, whether I realize that I am or not. God, the universe, this opportunity is in front of me, and I gotta go after it. I gotta just jump in, take a leap, and allow things to just unfold the way they're supposed to unfold. And I just jumped into it, Milton. I just went for it, took the opportunity, jumped in, and it was one of the coolest experiences of my life. I ended up raising money. We ended up creating a bunch of programming. We were the first bilingual network on YouTube, because this was all on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is what changed my entire trajectory. That's when I get into the online space. That was the first time that I realized that we could create content and use YouTube as a distribution platform and not have to rely on the major studios. Because, I mean, I was coming from film, with a film background, having a film degree and all, and it was all about trying to get Hollywood to notice you and give you an opportunity. And all of a sudden, we could create whatever we wanted and showcase it and literally create or grow our own communities of people that like the type of content that we were creating. So just the fact that I trusted that there was a reason why the opportunity showed up, and I took a leap of faith, just knowing that the God or the universe, whatever you believe in, that God had my back and everything was going to be okay. And if it was there, it was because, again, there was a lesson for me to learn there, and I needed to do it. And I dove in, and honestly, every time I dive or I take a leap like that, magic happens.
Awesome. That is perfect answer, man. Love it. Magic happens.
Magic happens, yes. I mean, when you trust in your abilities and you trust that if an opportunity is showing up is because you are prepared for it, whether you realize it or not, right? You got to take action. You got to go after it. Because even at the end of the day, let's say that I would have failed at it or perceived as failure, that would have been an amazing lesson for me.
Right.
I would have been able to come out of that and said, wow, dude, like I went after it. It didn't work out, but I learned X, Y, and Z. And now that knowledge would have then propelled me to the next big thing. Right. You know what I mean? Because failure really is nothing but just temporary defeat. And without temporary defeat, there's no growth. It's like temporary defeat is what prepares us. It's almost like the ticket of admission to what we want, the life that we want. Without failure, without discomfort, you're never going to achieve what you want, because there's no expansion, there's no growth without it.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Now let me ask you this question, Jai. How would you define a maximizing moment?
This is a good question. I would say when a door opens and an opportunity shows up that allows you to follow your passion. When everything in your being is telling you this is an opportunity for me to showcase who I truly am, right? Like if you think about when I moved to the US, that was a maximizing moment, right? I could take it either way I wanted to, but it was an opportunity. It was a door that could just take me to it was like I could experience a quantum leap if I actually maximize that moment. Right? That's
good.
Does that connect with you? Am I answering your question the right way?
That connects with me. Good job. Awesome. Now, Jai, my maximizers and you that are listening, I know you're into actionable steps. Jai, could you give me 3 immediate action steps to take for a person to maximize a defining moment in their life?
I'll do my best. No.
Yeah.
I think I would say number 1, again, and this is going to go along the lines of what we've been talking about, but just trust what is, right? Know that opportunities come to you when you're ready. Remember the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. So if the lesson is arriving, if the opportunity is arriving, it's because you are ready. So you just have to trust that and take action, right? Which leads me to the second one, which I would say, which is take action, right? Because without action, without movement, there's no progress, there's no change. So, and again, like what I was saying earlier, that regardless of the outcome, so divorce yourself from the outcome, just take action for the fact of experiencing something new that is going to give you new tools, new skills, new outlook on life, on things, right? So just take action, don't hesitate, go after it, and whatever happens next is exactly what is supposed to happen. And you're going to learn, you're either going to win or you're going to learn, but both of them are good things. So definitely take action and keep taking those steps forward, and the rest will take care of itself. And 3, I would say, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So discomfort, again, is a big ticket. I heard this on an interview once, and I love this saying. That's why I continue to repeat it. The discomfort is a ticket of admission to the life that you want. Because without this, if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, then you're always going to stay within your comfort zone, and you're never going to experience your true potential, what you're capable of.
Right.
Is when we take that leap, that it's almost like you get to know a whole new you, right? Which connects to what I was talking at the beginning, when I finally decided, hey, it's my choice. I get to create out of this experience here in the U.S. whatever I wanted to. That's when everything changed, because I took that. I was okay being uncomfortable, and I took that leap, and then I realized it's almost like a new Jai emerged that I didn't even really fully knew yet. But it was an exciting new Jai that it was powerful, and it was strong, and it would, could overcome and wouldn't take no for an answer, and it was fighting for his dreams. It was like that became my identity. But it wouldn't have happened if I would have allowed discomfort to just turn me off, because I could have easily called my parents and say, you know what, this is not for me, this is horrible, people are treating me really badly, I want to go back.
Right.
And I would have gone back, and who knows what would have happened with my life. But I was okay with that. It was like I was okay with the discomfort and with the challenge, and I keep pushing forward, and literally a whole new Jai emerged from the experience.
That's awesome, because I just what you said about divorcing yourself from the outcome, that hit home for me, because I a lot of times just want the outcome to be what I want it to be, but then it can impact my current action, right? And so
Right.
because I'm either hesitant, or I'm overly thinking it, or so there's that. I love that, and being being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think I'm on a life fitness transformation journey, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with being uncomfortable. Can't don't
Right.
eat as much. Workouts can be hard, challenging, soreness. There's so many things that go into it. But yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
But isn't, Milton, those are the moments, like what you're going through right now, when you look back at them, those are the moments that are so meaningful, because you're actually going through something, you're experiencing life, you're transforming yourself, and those moments are the ones that you remember.
Right.
So instead of running away from those moments, we should be running towards those moments, because those are the ones that are going to allow us to expand and grow and become who we are meant to be.
Right. Love that. Thank you so much. Awesome. So
Thank
you
you.
got a couple minutes, Jai, if you want to give any parting words, comments, or instructions to the audience, love to have you share.
I mean, I would say that follow your passion. Follow what makes you happy. That happiness is really the ruler that we should be measuring our success by, and not by money, right? It's unfortunate that society is constantly pushing us or telling us that you must have money. Everything we look at online, it's all perception, but we're being pushed to thinking that money is happiness, that money is the answer, when it really isn't.
Right.
Money is a byproduct of passion, of happiness. So definitely ask yourself, especially, I'm in the entrepreneur world with Latinoprenuers, and this is something that we constantly tell our students is, before you start thinking of what business is going to make me money, start thinking what business is going to make a difference, what business is going to make me happy, what business is going to light that fire inside me that allows me to overcome obstacles. Because really, if you're not passionate about what you do, then any obstacle, it's a really big obstacle, because you don't want to overcome. It's almost like you're looking for the first excuse to quit.
Right.
Because you don't like it. But when you're truly passionate about what you do and what you love, then not only do doors open for you, like things just start happening for you, or like the law of attraction starts taking place, because you're aligned with your purpose, you're aligned with what makes you happy, and that just unlocks all these gifts. So definitely follow your passion. Ask yourself, what makes me happy? And I would say, create a list of priorities, or actually define what your success is, right? We were talking about earlier. So if your success is family, or if your success is, having more time for yourself, or doing the things that you love, whatever success means to you, really define it. Know what success means to you, so that you don't measure success on somebody else's ruler, right? Somebody else's idea of success. So definitely follow your passion, do the things that make you happy. And the second thing I would say, don't strive, in which they all connect really at the end, but don't strive to make $1 billion. Strive to touch 1 billion lives. And if you do that, money and abundance in general will find you. Like, I mean, if you touch 1 billion people, you will live your best life.
Well said, my friend. Well said. Thank you for sharing those parting words. Now, how can the Maximizer find you? Anything you're promoting right now? Book, website, video, whatever.
Well, I would say follow me on Instagram. My personal Instagram is just Jai Bugarin, Jaibugarin. If you're Latino and you're listening to this interview, join our community, Latinoprenuers. Is just that at Latinoprenuers on Instagram, and then from there we can send you into our private Facebook group, and then you can start seeing more of what we do. But we're basically helping Latino entrepreneurs leverage the digital tools available to take their passion into a lifestyle business that is going to give them that fulfillment that they're looking for, right? So definitely find us on Instagram, and we'll love to chat with you and get to know you via the social platforms. It's the easiest way to connect.
Awesome. Maximizers, you will not be disappointed following my friend Jai on Instagram. A lot of inspirational, motivational stuff, and also some really good teaching on how to really bring success out even more in whatever your cause or passion is. Really, really appreciate that. Jai, thank you so much. Thanks for your time today. I've loved this interview today, and looking forward to doing more with you. You're an outstanding person, and I appreciate the value you bring to life, and it's not overlooked or underappreciated. So thank you very, very much. Maximize, I hope you really got a lot out of this with myself and Jai, and really, my hope and passion and prayer is that anytime I release an episode, it does help you maximize any given moment in your life toward success. And if you love this, please share it on your social media streams. Until next time, thank you, Jai, and God bless you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Milton. Pleasure being here. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.